Good Wednesday morning, well, Tuesday morning for those of you here. If you're in Australia, it's Wednesday morning, but it's not here. My bad. Jim Williams, along with Sean Miller and the man himself, Amadeus. Guys, good morning. We all watched some football last night. I think it's critical at this point in time to just simply pass on because we don't know any more than we did when the game was played last night. That Damar Hamlin, the fine and talented young defensive back for the Buffalo Bills, is in a hospital in Cincinnati. As we know right now, he is in critical condition. I think the best thing we can do is just pass along our thoughts and prayers to the family, to the Buffalo Bills, and obviously to the staff at the University of Cincinnati Hospital, where at this moment they are taking care of him. If you want, I'm sure you're going to be following it all day long. If you want to get in touch on social media, you can just, it's Damar Hamlin's Twitter address, and just take a look at it and send your thoughts and prayers along with Damar's, on Damar's Twitter account. I'm sure that will get to the family and they'll be able to see it. So that's the nice thing to do. But we wanted to acknowledge it, guys. Thoughts and prayers. There's not much more we can add to it because, we just don't know any more than what everybody else knows at this point. So,
yeah, definitely.
So moving on, it's soccer and we're back. So, what's going on today in the world of soccer, guys, that piques your interest?
I mean, the biggest game of the day is Newcastle and let me pull this up. Newcastle Arsenal. That screen here. I'll give you the here's the list of games. Arsenal Newcastle 2:45. Everton Brighton, which is a big game at 2:45. Leicester Fulham, which is kind of a decent game. And then, Manchester United, Bournemouth at 3. There's also 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 Copa del Rey matches. And, those are the main things. But, when you look at the table here after the weekend and after Tottenham blew it and Liverpool blew it yesterday, thank you to Brentford there. You see the table here, and it's all of a sudden now for Manchester United. They have a chance to move up to third if they win and Arsenal wins within a point of Manchester City, who plays Chelsea on Thursday. Arsenal can move 10 points clear. Maybe more importantly for Manchester United, they'd move 5 clear of Tottenham with a win on even amount of games, and 8, 7 clear of Liverpool. But once again, I'm not real worried about Liverpool at this point. Let's maybe talk about Brentford a little bit because they're up to 10th here and a win away from being in the Europa League spots. Yesterday's game was, I think Amadeus, we've been talking about it for weeks and months about the dream is over. If you're a Liverpool fan, you got one Champions League and you got one title, one in front of no fans. So that I think the cycle is over for no pun intended with all the allegations around them. But I think the cycle is over here for Liverpool.
Yeah, you know what? Like I don't know if you watched that game yesterday, but it could have been 4-0 Brentford at halftime. There was some disallowed goals there. They were all over them. It was unbelievable. I did say on the show yesterday, it was a hard game to bet. I said Brentford +1 or maybe the over 3, but I didn't really want to give the over because it's always so juiced. But this was this Liverpool team. We've been talking about it for weeks. How they're on the downtrend. Not playing well at all right now. And how about this Brentford team? So I think they've played now 3 matches since coming back from the break. They have a 2-2 draw with Tottenham. They have the 2-0 win over West Ham, and now the 3-1 win over Liverpool. So this is a team. They've scored 7 goals in their 3 matches, and they're just on fire right now. So that maybe a team to watch out for in the coming weeks. This Brentford side.
2 points behind the Chelsea team that has spent about 500 million pounds so far this year, and sits in 8th place with 7 wins from 16 matches, which is interesting. I think maybe the big story this season might be the teams like Brentford, Brighton, Fulham, Newcastle are fighting for Europe, and teams like Chelsea and Todd Bowley just coming in and spending money like this. It doesn't work like that. You can't just spend money and spend money and spend money on scattershot players, and it doesn't work. You have to build a team. Maybe that's interesting. And then, at the other half of the table, I think the other story is maybe how bad Everton has been again, and West Ham, how bad West Ham has been, and how bad Southampton's been, some of these teams. So, yeah, it's an interesting day today when you look at the schedule because, Everton needs something. They're a mess. Leicester, I think, Leicester is 13th here. They're only 3 points out of the bottom 3, so they're not. Fulham beats them. They're all of a sudden they're halfway through the season. They're in a relegation battle. So I think there's a lot of different stuff going on.
Guys, let me ask you about back to Liverpool yesterday.
Austin, how's it going?
What exactly? It didn't look like they even want to play.
Who's that? Liverpool?
Yeah, yesterday.
I just think they're not that good. Look, there's.
They were playing, but they just suck.
This. First of all, Virgil van Dijk is probably like one of the most overrated play. I don't want to say overrated in the sense that he stinks, but he finished 2nd in a Ballon d'Or. It's just like, what? Like, this guy's not that guy. Like, he's good defensively, but he's getting old. He's a little bit. He's on the downside. This team. When you look at their roster, they're in the downside. They signed so far this year. They signed Darwin Nunez. He's a bust. I don't care what happens. The guy's a bust. He's been atrocious. He couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. If you gave him a shot from 5 yards away, guy can't shoot. It happens. He's like Lukaku. Sometimes, it goes back to Benfica. Now, it makes. I know Enzo Fernandez was very good in the World Cup, but now all of a sudden I have to start questioning Chelsea paying the world record, Premier League record, 130 million euros for Enzo Fernandez from Benfica, who they could have got last year in the summer. They could have got him in the summer for 30 million. They just paid 130 for him. But I just, I think they're a little bit washed. I think when you saw what Klopp did, you can go back when he came in 2014, 2015, whatever it is. They were terrible. The old owners were terrible. They had to get rid of a lot of bums in the roster. They got to a Europa League final. They lost. They built Salah, all these people. Salah went crazy that one year. They got to a Champions League final in 2018, a little bit undeservingly. They had like the easiest draw in the history of the world to get there, and they lost to Real Madrid. But it was building towards the next year. The next year they went, they raced Chelsea, or they raced City to the wire in the Premier League, and then they won the Champions League. Once again against Tottenham, who was terrible. There's no chance Tottenham was winning that game. They got a little lucky. They won a Premier League title in a COVID year when they had a lead. Look, they were very good, but they had a lead, and there was no pressure on them. And then all of a sudden, they finished 4th. They played at such a high level for 2 or 3 years, and then they cycled down. And then last year, they cycled back up. They won 2 trophies. They made it to the final of the Champions League, made it to the final 15 minutes of the Premier League. and now there's a huge drop off. I mean, there's like the performance levels. When you see the performance levels like this, and then the drop off, and then they cycle back up, and then there's like a huge drop off. I mean, there's going to be questions asked about the training regimen and all this different stuff. I mean, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that people rumors and stuff like this. But at this point now, I just think they're old and they're getting to the point where, they don't have these owners don't really want to spend crazy money to rehab the team. That's why they're putting them up for sale. They just bought Cody Gakpo. I don't know where he's going to play. Like he doesn't help him. He can't, if he's not, are they playing him ahead of the $100 million Darwin Nunez and admitting that thing? So I think they're in a lot of trouble. And when you look at their schedule here, going forward, I think they have some games. They play Chelsea on the 20th. First of all, they play at Brighton after the FA Cup, which is not going to be an easy game. They play Chelsea, not going to be an easy game. They play at Wolves, that's not going to be an easy game. Then they have Everton. Everton stinks, but anytime they play Everton, it's a brutal game. It's 0-0, 1-1. Book the draw right now. Then they play at Newcastle and at Crystal Palace, and then they play Manchester United. So it's not getting any easier for this Liverpool team. It could get worse.
One of the things that, just to change the subject for just a second, one of the things that Amadeus and I talked about yesterday, and we wanted your opinion on, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about right now, but we'll get back to it. We were talking about listing the leagues and the quality of the leagues. We got to the MLS. How do you list the MLS against world leagues?
Well,
or can you?
I wrote a story. It was 5 or 6 years ago. My guy Emmett Austin, who's a massive guy in the he owns a bunch of hotels and played. Went to Columbia University with me. He played over in Europe. He's a big time player. He played in Europe for a little bit, and then he ended up going to London School of Economics and becoming a millionaire. So I asked him about it in the story, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, and to compare the level of the MLS, and he said the Conference League in England, which was the below the Championship, one league, so 5th tier. Right. And I never got more comments and hate for a story I wrote in my life. People were like, "Who is Emmett Austin? You're an idiot," all this stuff, But at the time, I think it was true. I mean, I would probably compare it right now to. I don't think it's as good as the Championship. It's been better. I think there's teams that could maybe compete in the Championship. I would say maybe League One in England, maybe like what level? If I would have to compare it to a level in Italy, or not Italy, maybe Serie B. Maybe it's like the Greek League, but the Greek League's not terrible. But that might be a little bit too nice.
We're talking about, since we just and I'll let Amadeus speak about it. Since we became the commissioners of the MLS, we were talking about the possibility of doing, wouldn't it be cool if you did relegation and then there would be teams from USL that would.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going to happen, but
no,
be awesome. Yeah, no, I did
this for interest is what
I did the social media for MLS Next Pro team, Rochester, and also wrote, I write their game stories and recaps and stuff still. So, they're like, they play in the reserve league. They're the only team in that league that doesn't have an MLS team. They play in the reserve league there. And you watch the games and you try to compare the level of play, and it's Or Jim Bob, how's it going? Liverpool over the top saying VVD isn't good. Look, I'll get to Jim Bob. I'll get to that in a second. But yeah, no, I think the league is getting better because they're bringing in players from Central and South American teams. I mean, that's what they need to do. On the same, the best Americans need to go. Can't stay in MLS right now. You got to go play in Europe. There's no way. The only reason the U.S. team is half decent now is because its players are playing in Europe against the best teams. I mean, you can't. The best teams are in Europe. The best leagues are in Europe. Like, it's just the fact, and you got to get better, and like that. And so Jim Bob's Liverpool have only lost form over the top, saying VVD isn't good. Look, I don't think they've only just lost form. This is 2 out of 3 years. They have it. They're not playing well. They played atrocious yesterday. They're playing Brentford without Ivan Toney. Ivan Toney, their top goal scorer, is not playing, and they got battered. They should have lost that game 5-1. They got absolutely battered. They're not very good. People keep backing them in these games. When I watch them get battered by Napoli in that game, I'm like, you know what? They're not very good. And then you watch them in these games. Look at these. Here's their fixtures. Here's their results. Look, man, they should be. This Leicester team stinks. They needed 2 own goals, 2 dodgy own goals to beat them. They went into the break a little bit on form. They beat Spurs, who stinks. Southampton, who's last. They lost to Leeds. They lost to Nottingham Forest, who stinks. We just battered Nottingham Forest. They just beat West Ham 1-0. Yeah, they beat City, right? They lost to Arsenal. They tied Brighton. This team isn't very good. Virgil van Dijk is a good player. I'm not saying he's not. But this thing where, he's the greatest center back, the fact that he was second in the Ballon d'Or is an absolute joke. Mbappe in a year, Mbappe went to the final. He's just good. He's just good. He's getting slow. He's had knee injuries. He's on the downside of his career now. He's in his 30s. Look, I mean, I'm obviously not the biggest Liverpool fan in the world, but these results aren't good. And they have a tough draw, and they have owners that don't want to spend money. Yeah, but that's, Jim Bob, that's last year. That's last season. Here's their form guide now. That's last season. Their form guide is terrible now. I'm using my eyes. They lost to Nottingham Forest. They lost to Leeds. They beat Spurs, who stinks. Spurs isn't any good. That guy Conte is going to walk. Southampton's in 20th. Since they've come back, Aston Villa, they're not that good. Leicester City, once again, they needed 2 own goals. I mean, look, if you believe in them and if your team, whatever, but that's you got to come back and talk to me after this next run of games where they're playing Brighton on the road, Chelsea at home, Wolves on the road, Everton, Newcastle, Crystal Palace on the road, and then Manchester United. So by the time we're in the middle of March, and they're right in the middle of that, they're playing Real Madrid. So by then we'll know. Well, if you're looking at this here, here's your futures. They still have, Liverpool listed. Liverpool listed as a top 4 team right now, and Amadeus. I mean, I don't know. I hate Liverpool obviously as a Manchester United fan, but Amadeus is a neutral. What would you say about this team?
Yeah, no, definitely. This team is not a team that's falling out of form. This is a team that's been spiraling since the end of last season, and all you're seeing is just you're seeing the downtrend. We've been talking about it for weeks, how this team was going to be on a down year this year, and they were just going to continue to go downward. you can see it with your own eyes. And me and Jim talked about something yesterday about how, sometimes the stat sheet doesn't tell the full story. You can look at Liverpool this year and say, oh, their goal differential, they have a double-digit goal differential. A lot of that's padded by a 9-0 win against Bournemouth. This is not a good Liverpool team at all. They have major issues. They're way too top-heavy. One of their biggest issues is they let Sadio Mane go in the summertime, and they tried to replace him with Darwin Nunez. All you did was bring in a high-maintenance striker that constantly needs touches versus the playmaker that you lost. So you bring in this high-maintenance striker, but he still needs someone to get to the ball. And right now, the Liverpool midfield is terrible. They're not getting numbers forward. They can't do anything in the middle of the field whatsoever. And the reason why, obviously, I wouldn't call Nunez trash, but I think part of the reason why he's been so bad is because they have absolutely no midfield help right now. This is not a good Liverpool team. They're not finishing in the top 4 this year.
And the problem is, if they don't finish top 4, they're not spending any money next year unless they get new owners. Well, now all of a sudden, you got, United about to be bought by Dubai. You have Newcastle owned by Saudis. You have Manchester City. So if they fall behind and they fall out of the top 4, they're in a lot of trouble. Jim, Bob, when you talk about form table from the end of last season, we had Ralph Rangnick, man. We didn't care. We're trying to get rid of bums. You got Ten Hag has lost 1 game in 15 right now. You can't go back to last season and that's way too long back. Yeah, no, look, they're only 4 points off the top 4, but this is, you guys went to the. I mean, all of a sudden, that's what the thing is. Like, you guys went to the title, down to the final 15 minutes of the season last year. So, look, man, I'm just, in some ways, this is a betting show. If you want to bet this team, they play, they're minus 109 at Brighton next week. I wouldn't touch that game. I wouldn't touch Liverpool in that game. I wouldn't back Liverpool If I'm looking at teams right now, I'd rather back Arsenal. They're flying. They're building a young team. This Arsenal team is here to stay now. They're young. They're the youngest team in the Premier League, and this guy's going to spend money when they win the title. Manchester City's going to spend money if they don't win the title. I mean, that's happening. Newcastle spending money. Manchester United is going to go crazy after having any money to spend in forever. That's just the 4 teams there. Tottenham's a mess. That's the thing. When you look at these, if I'm looking at the Premier League picture 2 years from now, Arsenal, City, here you go. There's the 4 for me. The 4 that are top 4 right now, they're the teams on the rise. City's obviously always going to be good. Tottenham's a mess. Liverpool's a mess. Chelsea's a mess. At some point, Chelsea will probably turn it around. And once this guy figures out the league, I don't know if that, Amadeus, if you agree with that, this statement about the, these teams being, youngest team in the league, Manchester City, rich owners.
Yeah, absolutely. Your Man United has been in great form in their last few. Obviously, Arsenal, best team in the league right now. 1 loss, 1 draw, undefeated at home, kind of like how we see Lens doing in France. Obviously, Man City is always going to be there. But yeah, Newcastle, they've been spending money. They're only going to spend more money because they still need a striker. They still need some quality players. But the fact that they're playing so well defensively right now, they're just sowing the seeds for as soon as they fix their attack, they're going to be a damn good team because you can't score goals on this team. Liverpool's got a defensive problem. They've been giving up goals. Like, you go down, you beat Leicester City 2-1. You go down to them in that game. You should not be going down in the first 5 minutes against Leicester City. That's absolutely atrocious.
Trent Alexander-Arnold, he's not a right back. If you want to move him up the pitch, I don't have a problem with that. I think offensively he's very good. Defensively he's atrocious.
Liverpool's best player right now is Oxlade-Chamberlain, and he should not be their best player.
There's a reason that Trent Alexander-Arnold never gets picked to play for England. He's defensively weak. Andy Robertson. Look, these teams, these when they were winning and scoring goals, scoring, high flying and stuff. But like, look, I mean, I don't want to just talk about Liverpool here, but like, I mean, I think Tottenham's a disaster right now. I think they're a mess, and I think, when you look at their fixtures, they got at Palace. That's a tough game right now.
That's glaring at them.
Arsenal, brutal game. Manchester City, brutal game. Away to Fulham, brutal game. Manchester City again, brutal game. Leicester away, all right. But, Chelsea, at Wolves, they're in the same thing. I think Tottenham has a better chance to finish 7th than they do to finish top 4.
There's a chance Tottenham only picks up 2 points in their next 4 matches, because that is an absolutely brutal schedule. You got to see City twice. Fulham is not a bad team. They are not a bad team at all. And I had somebody ask me about taking Everton today, and that's all my response was, or sorry, not Everton today. Who are they? Leicester City. Yeah. And I said, I know Leicester's at home, but this Fulham team, they score goals. They're not a bad team. They're not a bad team, especially when they're pretty healthy right now too. Obviously, they have Mitrovic was dealing with injuries, but he's been playing.
Yeah, they score goals, and let both those teams give up goals and score goals. I mean, that could be 3-3, 5-5, something like that.
Yeah, so like that Tottenham schedule is absolutely brutal. You got to play the 2 best teams in the Premier League 3 times, not to mention a team that could bury you just because they score goals. They could score, 2 early goals on you, and you're playing from down to nothing again, like Tottenham's been doing in their last few matches. So yeah, look, we're not trying to bash Liverpool, bash Tottenham. We're just explaining, this is what we saw this is what we're seeing from them this year. Me and Sean have been talking about how Liverpool all year is going to be on the downfall. Maybe you don't agree with us. That's fine. But, just wait till the end of the season. This isn't a top 4 team. And if they somehow make a run and make it into the top 4 they are good. This team went from a title contender the last 2 years to barely slipping into top 4. Now, that is not a good trend to have, because that just tells me they're only going to continue to trend downward.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, hey, Foxy. Yeah, brutal. What happened? And Foxy's been saying all week, I'm thoroughly enjoying the Spurs meltdown. Look, Conte's going to walk. It's huge for Foxy and Newcastle, I think, because if, Newcastle got good the same year that these other teams haven't been good. And when you look at the table, once again, the reason that Newcastle is in the top 4 right now is because, A, they have 1 loss. But they have 1 loss because they've only allowed 11 goals, which is the least in the league. Yeah, they've only scored 32, which is less than Tottenham and less than Liverpool. But they've given up 11 less goals than Liverpool, and they've given up 14 less goals than Tottenham. Manchester United, who started the season 0-2 and gave up 6 goals in those first 2 games, have allowed 2 less goals than Liverpool. And when you look at the form guide of Manchester United, when Casemiro and Varane play, they haven't allowed a goal this year. Casemiro and Varane have been fantastic. They get Martinez back today. The reason Manchester United is going in the right direction now is because their defense is playing well, like Newcastle. But like Newcastle, they need that guy. If they could somehow find a guy that could score some goals from the 9, Manchester United is going to start winning games like crazy. Newcastle will start winning games like crazy. Instead of 7 draws, they would have like 4 draws and 12 wins, and they'd be right near the top of the Premier League table. That's the difference between Arsenal right now and Newcastle. The difference between Arsenal, Manchester City, and Newcastle and Manchester United is Arsenal has 40 goals, Manchester City has 44. Holland, Arsenal gets them from all over the place. If Manchester United and Newcastle find someone in this window or multiple people that can score goals, they will lock the top 4 up 100%.
Yeah.
To your point, guys, with regard to Liverpool and others, you just said it, Sean. At the top of the table are 4 teams that are cash flush.
100%.
And when you're trying to sell a team, and John Henry and his the Fenway group who own the team are trying to sell it. They're not necessarily out to spend money until they find out who's going to own it. And it's unlike the Manchester United thing where you have a 98% possibility of knowing who's going to get it. You don't know who's going to get it.
No one's buying Liverpool until Manchester United is sold.
Right. That sets the price.
So that for me, that tells me something right away. People want Manchester United because of they're a money-making machine.
Well, they're a worldwide brand.
It's a brand. It's a machine. Yeah. So until Dubai or Qatar, you saw the pictures. I don't know if you saw the pictures of Avram Glazer in Qatar during the World Cup. He was, it's 10. Now it's 11 days ago.
He was sitting in the guy's box.
Yeah, there's bids. I mean, look, Qatar and Dubai are the two. They're both put bids in. It's just a matter of who's going to give them $6 billion or $7 billion, whatever it is, and they're going to spend like crazy. And their financial fair play doesn't apply to Manchester United like it applies to some of these other teams because they spend so much money. So if they went out and spent $600 million in the summer, it wouldn't be an issue.
But whatever they get, whatever the Glazers get, whether it's $6 or $7 billion, that sets the price for what they're going to give Liverpool, whoever the next owner is going to be. And even when they do it, it's going to be tough.
Yeah, Foxy, I think both. I know we both jest about Newcastle and United, but it going forward here, as a league, Newcastle clearly is going to be. Newcastle is always they're going to win titles at this point now just because they're owned by the Saudis. I didn't know if it was going to be this year. I thought it would be 2 years down the road. They're ahead of schedule, obviously. But they've been trending this way since they got rid of that bum last year after 14 games. It didn't win a game. Rafa Benitez there. So, but yeah, clearly Manchester United, Newcastle is right now for this season is battling with probably Tottenham, Liverpool, maybe Chelsea. I think Chelsea at some point maybe could turn it around. Maybe. They don't have anybody who can put the ball in the net though. Consistent.
Real quick to Brian Rowe. Brian, credit to you. Rutgers, you had 8. I said yesterday I didn't think that Rutgers could win that game outright. They did. They upset Purdue at Purdue. So kudos to you. Penn State's situation got a lot better when Utah lost, the quarterback Cam Rising yesterday. That was going to look like it was going to be a shootout, but when Rising got hurt, that pretty much ended it for Utah. So credit to Penn State and credit to Rutgers. Well done, you, Brian.
Yeah, make sure you're paying attention and watching when Brian's show starts at some point. I talked about LSU a little bit yesterday. I guess they
destroyed 63 points.
Yeah, that's a marker for next year.
That's Brian Kelly putting his foot down and saying, "Okay,
that's a marker for next year. It's the same as Alabama.
Put us in the top 5."
That's a marker for next year. Like, look, you know what? We're just gonna throttle this team.
We're gonna hammer you.
Yeah, yep.
But, I gotta say,
even Mississippi State came through.
Yeah, Mississippi State. Yeah.
I told somebody argued with me. One of my personal friends argued with me about that when I said, "You don't think Mississippi State's going to get up for Mike Leach in that one?" Like, I thought they were going to be extra motivated to win that one.
And in fairness, to be honest, Illinois didn't belong in a bowl. I mean, there's just come on. So.
Foxy, look, I don't think you are. I mean, I think defensively is the thing. I mean, when the coaches come in or when new regimes or whatever, the thing with Jose Mourinho when he came to United, he said, "Look, we're not doing anything until we fix like defensively. You can't be giving up 3 goals a game or 2 goals, whatever it is. So you shut it down defensively, and that allows you to win games. So, then, they won the 3 trophies that year. They won the League Cup, the Europa League, whatever. But then the next year they finished second, a ways behind. But you once you build that back 4, thanks, Bill. I like that Burnley game yesterday. Then you kind of go from there. Then you have to keep building up, then you build the attack. But until you have the attack to go with that, you're not going to do anything. That's what kind of Newcastle did. Yeah, Bill, look, I mean, today, I didn't even see what the final score. I know they were winning that Burnley 2-1. Today, Foxy, sorry here, but I'm going to go Arsenal. I like Arsenal a lot today, playing at home. I think this is a massive, massive game for Newcastle to see what they can do. I think they're going to have to score some goals in this game to win. We'll see. They might. This Manchester United Bournemouth line, I have no idea. Like, this was -2 something. Now it's -435. I mean, it's a little bit unplayable at this point. I know Foxy probably has some ideas about his plays. I wanted to kind of just look at this Copa del Rey real quickly because there's so many games. Remember, all the top flight teams have to go on the road and play. You got, even Elche is a -122 favorite there. Real Madrid's -1,000, which is absolutely ridiculous. But there's actually some decent prices in some of these games, where you can get, Villarreal playing Cartagena, -1 might be pretty good. But, if you're looking at, there's not a lot of games outside of those 2. There's Super League Greece, Olympiacos. Let me see what that line is. I think I'm like Amadeus here. I'm not sure I'm going to dive back in and bet the Greek league in the first game back.
No, they've been playing some games, actually. I think this is like their second match day. I think they played last week. They played yesterday. I know that. I was watching some of the games just on Gamecast.
Olympiacos -420, so you're going to have to. I mean,
that's a team I don't trust after watching them in the Conference League or whatever. Oh my God,
-1.5. I mean, I might be able to maybe play on Villarreal.
If you're looking to bet the Greece League, man, just take AEK Athens whenever they play. They're on fire right now.
Yeah, Bill, I think you could make, I think maybe, Villarreal here against Cartagena. See if Foxy, all the pressure on Arsenal. Let's see if they can break us down. First goals, everything. I'm not sure about that. I don't know about that pressure. I think, the
pressure's on Newcastle to stay in the top 4.
I think, yeah, I know he's deflecting a little bit. I think this is a huge game for Newcastle because, you just drew in a game. You didn't look great. Chris Wood, blah, blah, blah. You didn't score.
Couldn't score at home.
You got a goal. You got a point. But now, when you look,
this is an Arsenal team that we thought was going to take a downward spiral now that they lost Jesus, and they came out of the break and they just wanted to shut everybody up.
You were so good. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You won 5 in a row going into the break. You won your game back. Then you drew at Leeds. I just, you don't want to, and then I know you have Arsenal and then Fulham, Crystal Palace. So you'll probably, it's probably not that big of a game, to be honest. But you just don't want to have a trend, playing poorly back out of the, with all these games coming up. I don't know. I mean, you got the Carabao Cup coming up next week. You play Leicester. You got, I don't know. I don't even know who you play on. Foxy, who do you guys play on in the FA Cup? I looked through 50 games. There it is, Sheffield Wednesday. Interesting game. That's the thing. Some of these teams can play their way into form, like a Liverpool, Fulham, and Leicester, both teams to score. Yeah, I think that's going to be. I don't know what the price is for that. It's probably going to be pretty high because, that's going to be both to score minus 175. Maybe go over in that game. I think there's going to be goals. Both teams give up goals. Both teams are plus money over 1.5 goals. That's interesting to me. The Leicester guy might put 2 in his own net again. So you could put him right there.
He's got a hat trick on himself.
Yeah, Isak will return. That's the thing. I know, Foxy, you'll have some players coming back. So I'm not super worried. I know you're saying top 6. I think you'll finish top 4. It could be 4th, it could be 3rd.
What happened to Longstaff? Didn't his loan end 2 days ago?
I don't know. Where was he at?
On Newcastle, Longstaff. I don't know where he was at. Sorry, but. Yeah, I know. I think I saw his loan ended January 1st.
I don't know. Which one, Sean or Maddie?
Oh, I actually let me check. Hold on.
I got it here.
Okay, yeah.
Where's Maddie on loan? Colchester United. Maddie.
Yes, that's the one. Colchester. Actually, I do. Remember seeing that flash.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean. I don't know. He scored some big goals over the years. Yeah, I think they'll, once again, they'll probably spend some money here. But the problem is, where there's not who you getting. You got who's coming in. It's going to score goals. It's just not. I mean, it's the same problem with United. They're trying to find somebody, Marcus Thuram, or
someone's got to get my guy Fulkrug. I don't know why nobody's looking to Freiburg.
They probably will, but Freiburg's in the, they're in the Europa League, round of 16. They won their group. So if I was Freiburg now, I'm not trying to sell them right now. And that's the problem with this. I mean, in the January window, people are trying to find players, but it's just real hard. If you're any good, you're not trying to give them up. So.
Did you see what happened to the Rennes player yesterday? Terry. I think it's Martin Terry.
No.
He suffered a bad injury. I think it might have been it's a bad knee injury. It might have been an ACL tear or something. He went down and you could hear the scream. I could hear the screams on the stream. So it was a pretty bad injury for him.
It looked like he ripped it.
Yeah, I was running around yesterday.
Yeah, he went in from behind for a tackle, and just the way he landed on his right knee, I could hear him screaming through the street over the commentator. So I knew right away it was bad. It was a bad one. Got stretchered off.
Foxy, what do you think about this Levante? Who's they playing? Getafe, Bill? Levante Getafe contest today in the Getafe is 14th in the league. Where's Levante? They're in the 2nd division. Levante's 3rd in the 2nd division, 3 losses. They don't allow a lot of goals. They don't score a lot of goals. I'm not sure about that.
Your Manchester United was looking at Martin Terrier.
Who?
Martin Terrier from Rennes. Your Manchester United was gonna pay for him. He's done now.
What position?
I think he's a forward, left winger, something like that.
Okay. Thought we need another left wing. I know Turan wants to come. It says, he's going to either sign a pre-contract and come in the spring, come in the summer. They apparently they want Jan Sommer now because Martin Foxy. Why Foxy? So Foxy says he'll be taking Forrest double chance for Southampton tomorrow. Forrest looked decently. Why did Martin Dubravko go back to? I mean, we don't care, but it's just because he wasn't playing, I guess. I mean, he was a little bit of a mess that one game, but I guess he was our cover. So now maybe they're trying to get Jan Sommer early, but yes, tomorrow. Southampton, Nottingham Forest. Southampton plus 100 at home at the bottom of the table. Foxy, I don't know about that. Why are they so that's a weird line. Nottingham Forest double chance, minus 120, like you said, that could be interesting. And then I'll talk about those more tomorrow. Oh,
That was courtesy of NBC Sports.
Nice. Villa and Wolves tomorrow. Villa probably beats Wolves there. Palace, Tottenham. I might take a chance with Palace. Thursday, Chelsea, Manchester City. And then that's it. And we have the FA Cup. So a lot of stuff going on. But yeah, Foxy, I think that's a pretty good play. Bill, I would probably, if you're looking for maybe a little parlay here, you could do maybe both to score and maybe Villa Del Rey. And see what that pays. Pays 140 with Villarreal. Real Madrid's up to 12.50 now. Wow, the line just moved like crazy.
I will say Real Madrid's a team I'm looking to fade deep in Copa del Rey. They haven't made it past the semifinal in the last decade.
One of the other things, too, on that point is it looks like Real Madrid's not going to make any signings, but they're very open to shipping people out. If you're interested, they have an open for business sign out there.
Yeah, they could sign Bellingham if the money works, and it's if not, it's going to be next summer, I think. But I think that would be an interesting move for them if they got Bellingham here, because that league is open. So if you take Valencia minus 335 and both teams to score, that parlay pays 107. So you can do that as well, Bill. That's about it for the soccer today, though.
Not much left, huh? Yesterday, a couple of observations in college football. It was a wild game for Tulane. Tulane had not won a bowl game since 1939 or 41, something in that area. And they beat USC in the final seconds of that game. By 46-45. We talked about Penn State. We talked about LSU and Mississippi State. So there's really only one game left, and it's Georgia against TCU on the 9th. And early line has Georgia up. I've seen it anywhere from 4 to 6. So, the Bulldogs are the Dogs and the Frogs are playing in the national championship in college football. So yeah, I mean, there's been some fun stuff going on. I don't know the NFL, as we said before when we first came on, they have not yet decided what they're going to do with the Bills and the Bengals. Kind of hard to figure out just where that's going to go. I suppose they could play it next Monday night, but I just don't see that happening.
You're forgetting about the biggest game of the year in college football.
Oh, I'm sorry.
College football championship subdivision, the championship subdivision, South Dakota State against
Again?
North Dakota State. And
Again.
South Dakota State played Montana State. So
Yeah.
basically it was an all north. It's not the Northwest, but North. So South Dakota State and North Dakota State, winner gets to bring the two states together as one Dakota and call it whatever. But yeah,
North Dakota State's won what, 5 out of the last 7, something like that.
Yeah, I think
that's the only. Actually, it's a good point you bring up. That's the only NCAA football championship. Everybody else's championships, even though Georgia or TCU will be win the quote unquote college football playoff championship, it's not a sanctioned NCAA tournament. So technically, they're not the NCAA champion. Whoever wins the Dakota game.
South Dakota State and North Dakota State are in the same conference, the Missouri Valley Conference. One team is 13-1. South Dakota State actually lost its first game this year, and then won.
They were, you know how James Madison made the move up to Division I. There was a lot of conversation about North Dakota making that move, but they chose not to because they've been so dominant in that division. Thinking, why? Why would we go up and maybe get into the Mountain West? Does it do us any good? And the answer from the Board of Regents was no, it doesn't.
South Dakota State's only loss this year was the first game to Iowa, 7-3, and they didn't even give up a touchdown. It was 3-3 at halftime. Iowa got 2 safeties in the second half to win the game, so they won.
I remember that game. It was like 5-3 early on.
Yeah.
You're crazy. Wondering who's pitching,
but
I was like, what is this score?
Since then, and South Dakota State, when they played North Dakota State the first time, it was 23-21. South Dakota State came back from a 21-7 halftime deficit. So
when's that game going to be played?
It is this 2:00 on Saturday.
Okay.
So I think it'll be an interesting game. I think CBS has their CBS Sports. Those games are it's interesting because. Holy Cross was in. When you see some of the teams that get in, obviously none of the Ivy Leagues ever get in, but it's some pretty good academic schools sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And
a lot of the players on those teams, some of them will play in the National Football League, and because of their academics, some of them will own some National Football League teams.
Yep. Ferris State won Division II. And Division III, North Central Illinois beat Mount Union in the final after North Central beat Mary Hardin Baylor. So see if any of these.
It's interesting with the Ferris State's always had good football.
Yeah,
out there.
Well, you see, in Division III, Carnegie Mellon's in it.
Yeah.
Gallaudet got in it. Gallaudet made the tournament after they.
For those who don't know, Gallaudet is a university where no one can. It's a hearing. Where folks go who are
school.
Yeah. And it's in Washington D.C. It's down the street from another good institution, and that's Howard University. So.
There you go, Bill. Levante versus Getafe is the only possible upset game in the cup. Double check lineup says Getafe might focus on the league. Mayoral, Unal, key players. Notre Dame should take care of business in college hoops today.
Who are they playing, Bill?
Boston College. I know some people on Boston College today. Yeah.
Notre Dame is -2.5. So you have people on Boston College the other way, huh?
Yeah, I know a few people on Boston College today.
I haven't been focusing on college basketball, to be honest. So
where are they playing?
at Boston College.
Okay, so
they're playing up at Chestnut Hill.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't know much about the game. I just know that Boston College is what I was told. I don't play a lot of college basketball myself. Only if I really like the game.
I mean, that's the Holy War, right? That's Notre Dame and Boston College.
Yeah.
I will say I've done a few games up there at Chestnut Hill, and I've done games in Notre Dame. It's hot in that building. I don't care how cold it is outside. It's hot in that building. It's like playing in a high school gym. I mean, it really is not a big, it kind of reminds me, actually, Sean, of the Palestra.
Yeah.
It's like it hasn't been. It's like the old joke about we're playing it. Whose barn are we playing in this time?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the one in Chestnut Hill really looks when you get in there. Looks like you have to move the cattle out of the way to get to the basketball.
Players go stand outside at halftime to cool down.
It's like go to your locker. So yeah, it's now all the people at Boston College will be mad at me, but no, it's Notre Dame and Boston College, the Holy War in basketball, Holy War in football they play. Well, I mean, Notre Dame and now in Boston College, Notre Dame's in the ACC in basketball. So they got a home and home. Eventually, Boston College will play them out in South Bend, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if Brian's still around. Maybe he can help you out, Bill. I know Brian had Rutgers to upset Purdue yesterday, and that panned out.
He nailed it.
So yeah,
he not only took the points, he even predicted that they could outright win
with an 8-point spread.
And they hit a basket with no time left on the clock to win.
Bill, just a side note, Brian Rowe, who was here, he's going to have a show. He's the guy that predicted Penn State here. He's going to have a show here at some point, maybe starting next week. At probably trying to figure out a time for him. So if you're looking for college hoops and stuff, check out his show. He's pretty good. He's got some system. He tells me about it all the time. It's hard to listen, but he's got some system and it works apparently.
There's a book, and I'm going to try to remember. If I don't have it today, Bill, I'll get it for you tomorrow, and I'll put it out there. There's a book that's published every year prior to college basketball season. It breaks down every statistic of every college that plays basketball, and it gives you trends. It gives you how they play on Tuesdays. I mean, literally how they play on Tuesday. So there's a lot of interesting stuff in it. I'll get it for you. I'll get the name of the book, and it's an analyst who over the years has been really good at this. So maybe that'll help you out too. So I'll get that name of that book and pass it on to you tomorrow. I'm sorry I'm blanking on it right now, but I used to do a show with Chris King, and Chris was an absolute college basketball savant. He used to fake. Bill, you used to come in and be part of that group. Chris, it's funny, guys. Chris's favorite thing was to fade IUPUI because they just didn't seem to ever cover. He basically said you could buy a house on fading IUPUI. I don't know that to be true, but they seem to do well for him. But Bill will get you that information tomorrow. Or you know what? Go ahead and Chris's Twitter handle. Hit Chris up. I'm sure he'll be happy to give you the information. But yeah, the new show coming up. That'll be fun to watch too.
Definitely.
Because college basketball is better entertaining to me anyway than the NBA. So there you go, and that's the Standpoint Boys and Girls. Any final thoughts? Any last minute questions from the crowd? We good? Okay. So we'll find out. It's like tune in tomorrow. Find out how Notre Dame does against Boston College right here. If nothing else, we'll give you the score.
Yeah, we'll see if my people were right.
So you got people on BC. Is that what you're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. I don't want to say who, but I know
No, I'm
some
not
people
asking
on
you to tell me who's. I'm just saying, dude. I'm just asking.
No, yeah, obviously, but yeah. So BC is what I was told. So
I can't believe Bill's going against his Boston guys, man.
Bill maybe stronger Catholic at Notre Dame, I guess, huh? So he's part of the what they call the commuter alumni. Those are folks who didn't go to Notre Dame, but like Notre Dame anyway.
My best friend is Irish, so like it doesn't matter what it is. It's always just Notre Dame basketball, Notre Dame football, Notre Dame. Never went to Notre Dame. Nobody in his family went to Notre Dame. They're just Irish. So they like Notre Dame.
A few years ago, Notre Dame went to Ireland to play a football game, and that was back when I was working with. We had the rights to that game, and it was funny because everybody in Notre Dame everybody in Ireland had no idea that Notre Dame was Irish, was the Fighting Irish. So it's like they came over, yay, we're the Fighting Irish, and the Irish are going, who are you? It's like,
we're the Fighting Irish. What do you
we
mean?
are the Irish. Don't tell me. BC is usually pretty bad unless they got some new blood. I'm not aware that they did, Bill, just for the record. Let's pull it up real quick. I'll give you okay. College basketball. They haven't been good in football since Doug Flutie was there. They're 7-7, but the Irish are only 8-6. So, hello. The arena is called the Connie Forum. It seats 8,600. So there you go. Tonight, 7 o'clock for tip at BC. Oh, okay. So there you go. I guess it's a toss up at this point, but did you say they're getting points?
2.5. 2.5.
Notre Dame's getting points.
No, BC's getting points. They're 2.5 dog.
All right, so they're getting points and they're home. And and record wise, they're only one game off each other. Because Notre Dame's 8-6 and BC's 7-7.
Yeah, and this is still the time of the season where a lot of these teams haven't played too many road games.
Right.
It's a lot of neutral site stuff going on early in the season. So
the kids would be back in college now, no? Because it's the first week of January.
Is it now? Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Sean, are they back? The kids back on campus?
Like just regular colleges or nah? They won't be back till second, third, fourth week
of January.
Yeah, it depends. Some are last week of January. And we never went back. Our classes at Columbia didn't start till I remember we didn't have to sign up till
Yeah, but you went to a good school, so
some of them are I think some of them go back next week.
Okay. I'm just wondering, for how many, will there be a crowd that will be entertainingly challenging?
Probably.
They'll probably no, it's Notre Dame, so yeah, Boston College. Yeah.
The Irish will show up.
Boston, half of the city is Irish. So yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun, Bill. We'll see how it works out. Come back tomorrow. Who knows? Only a shadow. All right. Any final thoughts, guys?
No.
No final thoughts. Okay.
Nope.
Going once, going twice. All right. Well, we will see you tomorrow. Be well and take care of yourselves, guys. It's been fun. It'll be an interesting situation because there's more college basketball and hockey and all kinds of fun stuff tomorrow. But is it a bigger soccer schedule tomorrow, guys?
Serie A's back for Italy.
There
Yeah.
you go. So Amadeus will be speaking in Italian tomorrow, giving you all of your information.
I don't know about that, but
You
yeah,
know,
we'll definitely be talking
as well
some
as
Italian
as
talk.
well as passing us some pasta recipes. So we have all
Exactly.
kinds of stuff going on. All right,
Yeah.
buddy. Take care, everyone. For Amadeus, Sean, I'm Jim. Take care. See you tomorrow.